Out in the Wisconsin countryside, in between Manitowoc and Green Bay, unsuspecting travelers can stumble across what appears to be an ancient castle crumbling next to a county park. So, when this happened to me, it was a very surreal experience. Um, my imagination just scrambled trying to figure out why an old castle would be out in the middle of nowhere. And then after I started researching the history of the Maribel Caves Hotel, I came to realize that the stories surrounding this building were just as interesting as the experience of finding the building was. So, the reputation of the Maribel Caves Hotel is very interesting and has a somewhat sinister tint to it. Known to many as the Hotel Hell, is discussed extensively by ghost hunters and horror fans online who are fascinated by the reported hauntings of the area or the literal portals of hell that's said to exist on the property. However, there's also a more historically based part of the mythology of the hotel, and that has to do with its supposed connection to bootlegging and gangsters during Prohibition in Wisconsin. So there are many stories that purport that John Dillinger uh, enjoyed stopping at the hotel, that it was once owned by Al Capone, that the nearby cave system was used to store illicit quantities of alcohol and hide criminals on the run. And there are even numerous newspaper articles, especially after 2000, that claimed that the hotel was notorious for being a spot frequented by bootleggers and prostitutes. So this is where I've decided to focus my own research, and that is to try to answer the question, what role did the hotel play, if any, in the history of bootlegging and gangsters within Wisconsin during Prohibition. So the Maribel Caves Hotel was built by Reverend Francis Xavier Steinbrecher, an Austrian immigrant during in the year 1900, and it was actually based off of health spas that were popular in Europe at the time, which explains the somewhat castle-like appearance. It is located on 450 acres of natural landscape, which included the Neshoto River and 4 limestone caves. It was also near a railroad line after it was built in 1905 and became a very popular destination for many. And it was known for great meals and just generally being in a very idyllic setting for relaxing. However, the biggest draw of the property was the natural mineral spring that contains high levels of calcium bicarbonate and magnesium bicarbonate. And these properties of the water were said to be highly rejuvenative, so it was used extensively in the hotel and was piped in to be used in a spa, in baths, and even as drinking water. And it was actually this mineral spring that prompted the establishment of a second business, the Maribel Mineral Springs Company. And it was incorporated in 1905 by the Steinbrecher family. The company would bottle the mineral water and sell as is, or even carbonate it and use it in sodas. This company was started by Reverend Steinbrecher to be a temperance drink company, and he hoped to provide good alternatives to alcohol for the public. And these drinks, while they were very popular locally and with tourists, they were also shipped to Milwaukee and Chicago using the nearby railroad line, and they were reportedly actually sold in high-end hotels and restaurants in those cities. So, how did a health spa and temperance drink company that was established by a Catholic priest become synonymous with bootlegging and uh, famous gangsters like John Dillinger and Al Capone? So, while it's the unfortunately the success of these businesses did not last long, by 1913 the bottling company went into foreclosure, and it was merely 1 year later where you can find evidence that the Steinbrecher family was renting the hotel out to others to run and make a profit off of. So between 1914 and 1924, there is evidence of at least 4 different people renting the building from the Steinbrechers. And it's easy to see how, with this very unstable history of who was running it, how these stories of illicit activity could happen. Also, purportedly, around 1915, a bar was established on premises as well, which was quite a shift from the focus of clean living that the spa previously had under the Steinbreckers. So, while it's unclear when exactly the hotel went into foreclosure, it was likely sometime after 1926, which was one of the last times the hotel was actually mentioned in local papers that I can find. And then to further narrow down that timeline, it the Leader Telegram from Eau Claire in 1929 reported that the building was actually unoccupied um, when it was broken into and vandalized by two individuals that year. So the hotel would not find new ownership until 1932 when Adolf Czerny would buy the property at an auction. And it was the Czerny family who would reopen the bottom floor of the hotel and started running it as a bar after Prohibition was repealed. So, while these muddled lease records and tenuous finances, there's the business context in Chicago, and a period of not being occupied provide a very fertile ground for the stories around the hotel to potentially be true. None of these factors actually prove that these things happened on the property. So, um, it is in my work, I hope to help find the truth behind these stories around the businesses. And while there are a large variety of claims about this property made, um, even in newspapers, none of them cite any evidence to help support these claims. So I'm hoping by examining the data available to me locally that I am able to help contextualize the history of the Maribel Caves Hotel within the history of Prohibition in Manitowoc County and Wisconsin in general.